very serious consequences.
I was in the Johnson White House when we pushed through the Gulf of Tonkin resolution, which President Johnson then used as a means of going to war in Vietnam without officially declaring war. Are we seeing something like that here?
I think it's very similar, because I see this as not assuming responsibility by the Congress, but the Congress transferring this authority to wage the war and giving it to the President. So it doesn't tell the President to go to war, but it's certainly granting him this authority to use force to go to war or win, and if he feels like it. So I would say it's very similar, and it may well have consequences similar to, maybe not quite so bad, but could be even worse.
Congressman, what do you think about the President's new policy of preemptive first strikes?
I think that is serious. In the committee today, as we were marking up this bill, those who were pushing the resolution worked real hard to say, this has nothing to do with preemptive strikes. And I made a statement, I said, this is what it's all about, is to establish and institutionalize the preemptive strikes. Although we have done that off and on in minor degrees over the years, this one is much more open and much more declared and a much bigger issue, and that's what this is all about, a preemptive strike. I think that is so dangerous, not only to us as a people and to our rule of law and our Constitution, but I believe that will come back to haunt us, because it has already started, because the Russians now say, aha, what you're doing is nothing compared to what we want to do. We want to go into Georgia, and because you say there's terrorists and the Iraqis are possible terrorists, that's why we want to go into Georgia, and we want you to approve it. And that's why they're looking to maybe give in a little bit to us if we ignore what they do in Georgia. But what if China declares that you know, they've just been attacked by some terrorists from Taiwan? They may move on Taiwan in the midst of a crisis in Iraq. And look at the confusion and the chaos and the hatred that exists between India and Pakistan. They both have nuclear weapons. Now, if the preemptive strike becomes institutionalized not only for us but for the world, that means that the next time the Pakistanis might commit an act of terror against the Indians or vice versa, the Indians might just say, you know, this is the reason we have to go ahead. And besides, the great moral leaders of the world, the people who set the standards, is America, and this is what they do, and they will take our quotes and use it. They could take our legislation and use it. So, yes, I think what we're doing here and redoing this policy has really changed things a lot, and that is probably the thing that we should fear the most.
Congressman Paul, on September 10th, 3 weeks ago, you read to the House of Representatives 35 questions you said should be answered by the administration before action was taken on this resolution for a war against Iraq. Have any of those questions been answered?
No, I guess in bits and pieces, and I qualified that by saying I wouldn't get to ask them. You know, I probably, in these couple days of opening debate and plus my amendment, I probably had 12 to 15 minutes total, and those questions wouldn't have been answered because they're more complicated, and I would not, I once again, you know, I indicated that they can best treat me by trying to ignore me, so I wouldn't expect the administration or the State Department to send me the answers.
So this debate, in your judgment, has been designed to reach a preconceived conclusion?
Well, the most important characteristic was don't mess with the language, and don't have a real debate, but just sort of rubber stamp it. Give the people a chance to get stuff off their chest so that they feel like they've been debating it, but don't really expect to change anything or have any input, because it's so important to keep the coalition together of Republicans and Democrats, both in the House and the Senate, and the President, because they have made their decision on what to do, and they cannot afford to take any extra time and tinker with the language.
I know you have to get back to your work there, Congressman Ron Paul. Thank you very much for this time.
Thank you.